This is LibreQuest. My name is Matt. It is the 22nd of February, 2020, and I have some news articles for you today. This article is written by Robbie Payne from Today, and let's see, this is on ChromeUnboxed.com. Linux apps on Chromebooks may be reason enough for external GPU support. We've been tracking a device known only as Mushu for about a month at this point, and it brings with it a very specific and interesting addition to the Chrome OS ecosystem, a discrete GPU, or DGPU for short. When we first reported on this device being in development, I suggested that I don't see a ton of use cases for a Chromebook with a DGPU for most users. Without a proper video editor or tons of ways to play locally stored games, it's hard to make a case for DGPUs when existing Chromebooks are already so fast at what they do. Alright, the next article is going to be from Phoronix.com, article by Michael Larbell. Radeon Pro Software for Enterprise 20.Q1.1 for Linux released. AMD's Radeon Pro Software for Enterprise 20.Q1.1 Linux driver release was made available this week as their newest quarterly driver installment intended for use with Radeon Pro graphics hardware. With the Radeon Pro Software for Enterprise 201.Q1.1 Linux driver, the only change noted is fixing possible image quality issues with the Foundry Nuke software when using the blur effect. The release notes, as usual, are very basic, but it does look at least like it does incorporate Vulkan 1.2 support into this Radeon Pro Software Linux update. Alright, and for the historical article today, is going to be from February 22nd in 2012. Ubuntu for Android shows us the future of computing. This article written by Michael H. Did everyone see the news yesterday? It would have been easy enough to skip over the story, but Canonical announced its idea for bringing Ubuntu and therefore Linux to mobile devices. And we're not talking proper Linux, not just Android. I misread that. And we're talking proper Linux, not just Android. If you don't count Android, as most Linux users wouldn't, Linux is the last major desktop OS to make the transition to mobile. The strange thing is that with Ubuntu for Android, Canonical isn't exactly creating a mobile OS, just a way to easily transition from mobile to desktop and back. This sort of straddling the line has both its advantages and disadvantages, but still gives us a view of what the future holds for computing. Alright, so the main topic today is going to be tools that you can use on Linux for benchmarking and for stress testing your GPU. So the reason this is important is because it's important to know how your GPU is performing, if you're having any issues with it, or if you just want to benchmark it to see kind of where your GPU falls in performance and ways that you can improve it. It's kind of difficult to improve the performance of your GPU if you don't know where your starting point is. So I wanted to go over just a few tools that are available for Linux that might be helpful for you on your system. The very first one that I have is called GPU Test. And it looks like the last release of this was from 3/4/2014, and it is a Linux 64-bit program. So I'll be adding a link for this. Now, what this GPU test is it's pretty much just a triangle on the screen, and it creates a lot of stress for the GPU. And then, of course, you can use this in, you can use this with other monitoring software, so you can monitor the GPU. However, on the window itself, it does give you a little bit of information about the GPU status. So that is a decent one. The next one is GLMark 2. Now, GLMark 2 is a GPU benchmark, and it shows a few different screens, and it uses those screens to really stress the GPU, and then it will give you a report when it's done, and with a scoring number or metric. So you can use that to kind of, work out any issues that you might be having or try to improve your GPU score using GLMark 2. And it is, of course, using OpenGL, and the same with the GPU test, actually. Okay, so that is a handy one. Now, all these I'm going to include in the show notes or description, depending on if you're watching video or listening to audio. So you can find those over at LibreQuest.org. And so the next one is going to be, let's see, the Unigine. They have some different tests available. The newest one is for superposition. It's from 2017, and this is at benchmark.unigine.com. And so superposition 2017 is pretty cool looking. It stresses the GPU. It'll give you your minimal frames, it'll give you your average, and it'll give you your maximum frames. And of course you can mess with your system and try to, get a better score. And if you're having issues with bottlenecking, now before I mention that, they have their 3 that they have right now that aren't considered, let's see here, legacy. They have one from 2009 called Heaven, one from 2013 called Valley, and then Superposition from 2017. Now, I've used all of these. No, actually, I have not. I've not tried Valley, but Heaven and Superposition, those are really cool and very handy for tweaking your system. Now, the reason I wanted to do the podcast about this today is because gaming on Linux is it's really popular. It's really a big thing right now. A lot of people are gaming on Linux and really new to gaming on Linux. And these are just helpful things. If you're going to be gaming on Linux, these are helpful things that you might want to use or start with, just so you can get a feel for where your system is at. And suggested improvements might be overclocking your GPU or overclocking your CPU, depending on if you have any bottlenecking. So that brings me to this is actually an extremely simple tool, and well, it's maybe not the best metric to go by unless you're just really wanting to make sure that you're not bottlenecking if you're using like a compatibility layer like Proton or Wine, because this is actually a Vulkan tool. So it's for DXVK, but it's called Mango HUD, and I tried it out yesterday. I tried it on my R9 Fury X system that I'm doing the podcast with, and I also tried it with the R9 380 system that's actually behind me right now. And in both cases, the GPU usage would spike to 100 and it would drop to 0, and it would do some really weird things. But on both systems as well, it seemed like there was a pretty good balance between the GPU and CPU usage. So I didn't really, I'm not really sure. It was a bit confusing, but I mean, it's still a useful tool to kind of give you an idea of where your system's performing and that kind of stuff. So let's see. This is actually from gamingonlinux.com. Now, this is an article by Liam Daw from the 14th of February of this year. And it just gives you some instructions on your launch options for Steam. And it gives you a release file that you can download and install. Now, when you download it, it is just I believe it's a zip. I believe it's a tar.gz. And it comes with a script, or it might be a .run. I'm not really certain. Let me check that real quick. I'm just going to download it and take a look at that and see exactly what kind of file that does give us here. Let's see. I've already downloaded it on this system. Okay. Oh yeah. Of course I did. Okay. So it is okay. It's an install.sh. So yeah, that, and you just run that, and now unpacking it, I did notice that the file is already, the permissions are already executable, so you can just execute that, and that will install to your system, so that you can go ahead and start using it. So it's a useful tool. There might be better tools. I don't know. You might know of some that are better, and if you do, please, if you're watching the video version, there's a lot of options for commenting either on bittube.tv or on the YouTube side. So and the Bright Eon side as well. Of course, I don't get really that much traffic over there, so I don't know if it's really worth mentioning at this point. However, okay, I think that's about it. I just wanted to mention a few tools that can be useful. I think probably my favorite out of all of them is the Unigine benchmarks. Specifically the superposition. I really like that one. Very useful. And it's, you know, it's helped me if I'm overclocking. Either I have one of the GPUs is unlocked, and this R9 Fury X that I have on this system here, it doesn't have an unlocked BIOS on it. I could flash it, but I think you have to have Windows to do that, and I'm just not willing to install Windows to do that. So anyway, I think that'll do it for today. Thank you for listening. If you want to get the audio version, you can find out where you can get the show, or if you want to get the video version, you can find out where to get the show by going to LibreQuest.org, and then going to episodes, and then where to find the show. Also, you can support me on Patreon and Subscribe Star. So, as always, thank you for being a listener, and I will see you next time.